Hey everyone, welcome to the Electric Supercar channel. This week we're dealing with the Range Rover. For those of you who are new, this is a 1995 Range Rover Classic, and this one may look a little different than last time. This client reached out to us to do a few fixes on his vehicle. So one of the fixes was there was a lot of noise. This is not the sound of a quiet EV. Another one was there was some regen problems. We're off the throttle and we're just still coasting. So no regen. Last time we fixed the accelerator pedal and we stopped the radiator fans coming on all the time, which was really loud. And then one of the other ones was we wanted to do some DC fast charging. Something tells me that we're gonna have a few more issues that we uncover. So we've got a lot going on. Let's get to it. We're gonna do some baseline sound testing with the Range Rover. We just wanna see where we are and we wanna look for our improvement. All right, one thing I noticed as we got in, the keys are out, but there's a switch back here. So again, I think we'd want that on ignition, not just on all the time. But we'll check with the customer. So I'm gonna turn it on and kind of get baseline reading of power steering, vacuum pump, and the AC. And then we'll do driving and we'll do kind of the motor sound in the cabin as well as underneath. All right, so for some of the engine-based stuff, we'll just use the phone. For the road stuff, I'll probably just use the microphone on my camera. But it's again kind of 60s, 70s. So when the vacuum pump's on, it's 75-ish, and then it pulses. So the condenser fan looks like it's mid-70s, and looks like the compressor is kind of high 70s. All right, so the last part of testing, we're going to do cab testing. So essentially sound inside the cab, and we've also got a microphone under the car to kind of check the motor noise. So we'll do a quick drive and show you what the noise in the cab is. Let me roll up the window. All right, so we're right around 25 miles an hour, so that'll be a good baseline. So again, right around there is 25. We're about 70, 65, 70. So again, that's pretty quiet. So we'll do one more around 40 or 45, and then we'll bring it back in the shop and start the sound improvements. All right, so that's 40, kind of low 70s. So that'll be the baseline that we try and improve upon. And again, it's really not that bad, but I think we can do better. All right, so we're now in forward gear. You can hear the power steering a little bit, but that's okay for electric power steering. And the throttle, when I say throttle, the application of the motor is just a little choppy, but see, we're off the throttle and we're just still coasting. So no regen. So I don't know if you can hear it or feel it, but it's just. So again, I think the motor controller must be an older one that's not very up to date. So we've got a lot of things to fix. One of the first things we want to fix is kind of the throttle, the application of throttle, and look into regen. Because if we have to go with a new motor controller, we want to figure that out pretty soon. But now we're taking you on the road so we can show you the regen. So we've kind of dialed in the max regen. But yeah, the regen, we've got the regen to work. It's very jerky. Not saying like it suddenly regens. The regen, the amount of regen is good. It's just, it kind of shudders. God, do you hear that shaking? There's 30 and ready, here's regen. So again, that's a pretty decent stop. It's again, just a little jerky. Oh, that is nuts. Just dart. So the amount of regen I think is gonna be okay. We're just gonna have to see if we can fiddle with the shuddering. I'll try it one more time. 3, 2, 1. Yeah, so again, the regen power is pretty good. That's the max we've been able to set up. But yeah, we'll just have to see if we can get rid of that jerk and see if the amount of regen is good enough for our client. So we found out that the motor controller, this is a zero EV board. The company's kind of transformed into Felton, so they don't really make this board or support it anymore. So we're kind of on our own to figure things out. And we've kind of consulted with the customer, and they feel like it's probably time to invest in a new motor controller system. So that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna kind of abandon this one, even though we were able to kind of get it regen. We just have hit some of the limits with the board. So we'll get a new system in, start wiring and programming. For today's sponsor, we've got a MagSafe phone holder, and this is from Android. Doesn't everybody love carbon fiber? So it's got several degrees of freedom. This part goes onto the vehicle, this part will go onto your phone. So this is a magnet, and in case your phone doesn't have a magnet, it's got you hooked up so you can put a plate on your own phone. This is the Android Car Magnetic Phone Holder. It is MagSafe and it's rated up to 78 pounds of suction power. So it works with iPhone 17 Pro Max, 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, plus Air carbon fiber. You can put on a panel, the dashboard, or even your windshield. It's a phone support anywhere for all cars. So it's got a 360-degree rotating base, so you've got good visibility from any angle. All right, so in the package, it's actually got a little thing to help you locate the metal ring kind of perfectly on your phone. Here's the metal ring. It's got, looks like an adhesive backing. So again, if you've got a dash that's super textured and won't stick well, they actually hook you up with this guy, which is an adhesive pad that can stick to that dash. All right, so for this one, they give you two wipes. One is a wet wipe, another one's a dry wipe. So we'll go ahead and prepare the surface. We're just gonna do it right here. This is nice and flat for that as well. So let me push down, and let me make this one go. Boom, locked. All right, so here's the phone. This is an iPhone. It's actually got a magnetic ring in this one already. Again, if you don't have it, the kit comes with one. So there you go. And again, you can rotate it, you can tilt it up, forward, you can even kind of have it go up or down. It's got kind of all the degrees of freedom that you would want. If you are interested in a product like this, it's only about 25 bucks. I'll leave a link in the video description below. We've got the Rover on the lift. We have uncovered a problem, something we probably need to address. For the front suspension and drive shaft, when it is, I'll say under load, meaning when the vehicle's on the ground, everything's great, there's lots of clearance. However, when it's unsprung, so meaning like if you went over a bump and like, you know, your tires kind of go down to maintain contact with the road, there's a problem. Right here is the problem. So meaning the drive shaft actually hits the front sway bar, and you can see it's actually kind of marked up the front drive shaft. Again, this is in a no load condition, meaning that there's not a lot of force going on here, but it is enough that it's kind of dragging. So we're gonna have to see if there is another sway bar solution, because the drive shaft really can't change. And then one of the reasons for the vehicle on lift is we're doing a new motor control board for the large drive unit. So the drive unit's gotta come out. We gotta swap out that board. All right, so we've got the bolts loose. We're gonna go ahead and lower the vehicle. Got a cart here that basically gonna lower that so the motor is kind of resting on the cart, so it kind of takes the weight off. And the reason to do this is, again, we've got to get the inverter board out, and that really can't be done in place. And then we're also gonna be adding some sound deadening. Yeah, now that felt like it's free. I think it's free. I'm not feeling any movement as you're going up. Still good. All right, the motor is now out. We're going to go ahead and take off the inverter cover here. So we've got to get this one off. This whole cover pops off. There's a couple Phillips or hex drives under here to get this plug to release. And then just a couple of these, we'll get this whole thing taken off. I think this is just an early motor. All right, so on the motor here, we've taken off the inverter cover, and this is the board that was on there. And so this one is from Zero EV. This is the board. It was a very early board, and they don't make it or support it anymore. And it's not giving us the drive characteristics we need, especially for Regen. So we're swapping this one out with an AEM board. All right, so time to swap out for the new one. All right, all back together. So now we'll put the cover on. just like that, it is all done. We've got the new board in, everything put back together and torqued, so it's ready to go back in the vehicle. All right, so while the motor is out, we are going to take this opportunity to add some sound deadening kind of right above the motor, in between the motor and the cab, to try to reduce the noise as much as possible. All right, one other thing we noticed is there's some oil leaking here. At first we thought it might be from the motor itself, because the motor sits right below here and there's some fluid on the bottom of the motor. Took the motor off, it looked good, and the fluid's actually coming from right here. And under black light, it actually fluoresces, which means it's part of the fluid for the AC system. And there's an AC condenser or evaporator core right up here. So we'll have to look at that and see what needs to happen to make that not leak.
Okay, so let me show you. This is our plate, and as you can see, it does fit, but there's no way to fit it in a way that the cask cap can actually close. So you can see we've removed it for now, but we're gonna need to fabricate something new that will be able to fit in here so we can still charge. So I've catted up two models. So we've got this model, which will replace this piece right here. So you can see they're very similar. It has new mounting points so we can fit where we need it to fit. As well as I've catted up this plate that is to be made out of steel that we can paint and place in there. That's kind of functions more as like a beauty plate to keep it looking nice. As you can see, it's got the space for what we need. We're gonna have to cut out back here what the old charge port was using and make room for our fast charging system. Okay, so that's what it looks like with the charge port. So it looks pretty good. Now we just need to get the mounting points and get it made out of metal and put in. I'm gonna pop it open so you can see the finished look. So we've got the charge plug in here, we've got our button, we've got a bolt-in solution that fits in there pretty well, and most important of all, this guy closes. So this is the junction box that was here, and we thought, hey, let's just use this box and make it bigger. And we realized that we would be rerouting all of the cables because these cables are not big enough. So we are going to find a different solution. So here's our quick schematic of the Rover. So we've got the front battery here, we got the rear battery, and it goes through the motor. So the motor has full voltage and can do the power that it needs. We are adding a DC charging right here. So we're going to interrupt these lines and add a high voltage junction box here with contactors and bus bars and a fuse so we can add the fast charging while still having full voltage, and we are benefiting from these cables being large enough for our charging system.
So this guy needs to mount right about there. So this is for DC fast charging. So you can see it kind of needs to go right there, but we're not going to mount it to the floor pan. What we're going to do is I'm going to take a scan of this. We're going to make a mount that comes off of this. We're going to weld it to this. So this is the scan of the underside of the Range Rover. I've made this piece, and the HVJB mounts to those holes right there. The idea is to weld it along this seam, and then something similar here. Go. It's perfect, Braden. Laser beams. All right, cut, go. Here you go. Perfect. Okay guys, so here's our plate. It's welded in. We got our nut certs, and then we have this awesome piece here that rivets kind of like so, and that will give us some strength in our plate. Just it's got a little bit of flex in it, so once this is riveted in, we can fully weld it here, and it should be good.
So we're getting things mocked up here. These lugs are there. We're going to crimp wires to them, and this is the new junction box with some of the fast charging components in it, and we're going to get this fabbed up and put in the car.
All right, so here on the Range Rover, the time has come. We need to actually take out this battery box. We got to do some things. We're switching up controllers. We're switching up for fast charging. So Tony has got to be taking all this off. So we just don't want to mess up the paint or anything. So this front, almost everything's got to come off. So he's going to be working on that. All right, the battery is out. That was a little bit of an ordeal trying to get things unhooked and everything, but it is now out. I'm going to put it on this cart. We can open it up and look at what electronics we need to change. All right, we got the access panel off here. They've got 10 Tesla modules up front here. They've got the Thunderstruck battery management system. So what we needed to do, why we did this, essentially this is an older version. This is the BMS-C, and we're going to swap it out with the MCU, which is compatible with DC fast charging. So we'll have to swap that one out, and then we'll just have to make sure wires that go to this plug are all working out just how we want it to. Then it can be buttoned up and put back in. So it does look like they did a really good job with this battery box. You got your contactor here. This is for your pre-charge relay. That's your pre-charge resistor. Everything looks nice and neat. All right, so Tony's made the changes here to the satellite. So there used to be a master in there. We're doing a satellite because we got to get a different master. And so other than that, he's had to do a few wiring changes just because I think the original system had a negative kind of, I'll call it pull to ground to drive some of the relays and contactors, and we need to go the other way around. But he's done the wiring changes, populated the plug, so now he's going to seal it up.
Tony's been working on the front battery, trying to get that out so we can see what's going on. The rear battery looks like it's going to be a lot easier, but we need to get in there and see what the contactor situation is, how many remote BMSs are in there, so that we can get our setup for fast charging going. So we did get into the rear battery box, and I'll show you a clip, but we found everything we needed to. We found that there are 2 BMSs, there's 6 Tesla cells, Tesla modules in there. There is a contactor, which we weren't for sure about, so glad that there's a contactor in there, and then all the plugs. So we located the pins that we need to know to get our system going. We figured out how to get to the contactor, and it was comforting to get in there and see that everything was set up right. So we're good to go.
We were able to get a lot done, but as you can see, we've got a lot more to do. Thanks for tuning in. See you next time.
So both of them are leaking. That's a huge leak.